Hello, everyone, and thank you for patiently waiting. My name's Josh from Career Map TV, and I'll be your host today. Today, we're joined by York St John University, who are going to talk to you about apprenticeships. We do have a dedicated Q&A section at the end, so please feel free to pop any questions in the chat box. So without further ado, I'll now pass it over.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us during National Apprenticeship Week. It's a great privilege to be here on behalf of Career Map and York St John University. I'm Tom Burton. I'm the Head of Degree Apprenticeship Delivery, Employer Engagement and Commercial Partnerships here at the university. And we're going to spend the sort of next 45 minutes talking about degree apprenticeships, and hopefully you're able to glean some insight from the session and go away knowing a little bit more about what this pathway is within further education. As we've just mentioned, there is a chat function, so please, if you have any questions or you wish more clarification on any of the points I'll talk about, then please drop a question into the chat. We will pick them up towards the end of the session, and I shall do my very best to try and answer all of your questions. So as I said, we're up here at York St John University. We're based right in the centre of York, the wonderful city of York, very historic if you've ever been here, and our campus sits right across from York Minster, so central as you can get in terms of the great city of York. We've been delivering degree apprenticeships at York St John since around about 2018. We've pioneered some of the some of the very first degree apprenticeship programs in Yorkshire, as well as the UK. And along with delivering in York, we also deliver at our campus in London, which is at East India, just across the river from the O2 and Canary Wharf, if you're familiar with that part of the world. So our delivery is not only regional in York, but also nationwide with London as well. So we're going to try and give you some basics this morning. So apologies if you do know some of these facts and figures, but this is really designed to sort of bring people up to speed on the apprenticeship system as we have it. And I'll always say as we have it because with a change of government that we had last July, there's always a big asterisk that we are in the first year of a new administration with lots of movement around skills policy and agenda. So I'll try and demystify some of that for you as well as we go through. So first of all, what are degree apprenticeships? If you're not familiar with this pathway or you've heard this term degree apprenticeship, how does it work? Well, a lot of people think it's just a different slant on an undergraduate program or a postgraduate program, but it is somewhat different in its makeup. First of all, it combines the work and study model. So an apprentice at all levels, not just at degree apprenticeship level, has a obligation to work alongside their studies. So you cannot be an apprentice, you cannot be a degree apprentice without being employed, first of all, with an organisation. A lot of people say, can you be self-employed and undertake an apprenticeship? And no, you have to be employed and have a line manager and potentially a mentor, which we'll come on to shortly. So there's a combination of work and study, and the split of the work and study is usually 80% of your working week or your working month is in work, and 20% of your working week is off the job. So we have on the job in work training, and we have off the job out of work training, and that's where the degree education comes into the fore. So it combines a full-time paid employment role with attendance at a university undertaking a degree qualification, somewhat on average 1 day a week. If those are familiar with the term day release mechanisms, it can be similar to that. It can be block release, it can be hybrid study, so online and in person, it can be self-study. So it's full-time work. 20% of that full-time work is off the job, attending or having support from the training provider, of which we are at York St John. So it's 20% work, 20% off the job, 8% on the job, and it's a real practical way of developing skills, competency, and experience. And I suppose that's one of the biggest advantages of a degree apprenticeship is that you have this applied learning model. So you will be employed in a role, you'll be undertaking skill development in the workplace, you'll be attending university, and you'll be gaining practical experience and knowledge through those attendance at university, which you are then going back into the workplace and applying. So you're learning those valuable skills, you're working in a real job environment, you are coming to university, you are gaining more knowledge, more experience, more development opportunities, taking that back then into the workplace and applying it, giving your workplace real value to your learning and development, while you yourself is gaining massive amounts of practical experience, life experience, and knowledge. And the difference really between a degree apprenticeship and a undergraduate degree is the fact that the learning in work and learning in university are two parallel tracks, and you're developing your employability, your skills, your knowledge in work, but also getting that university education and eventually the degree award to back all of that up. So it's a really valuable two-track system in terms of developing a professional career. Of course, the final bit to sort of explain and widen out is that degree apprenticeships are fully funded by your employer. That's why we need to be employed. And they are funded by something called the Apprenticeship Levy, which I'm going to touch on shortly. Most degree apprenticeships are funded by the government. Some degree apprenticeships, I put most here because this is a forward throw into new policy, because we are expecting some degree apprenticeships in the future to be slightly hybrid in their funding makeup. So, but most of them, for the moment, all are. In the future, most will be. And important to recognise that the government are aligning their strategic industrial strategy to what the apprenticeship system can offer. So there's no student debt. That's probably the biggest thing to talk about. There's no student debt. There is a delivery mechanism that's regulated by Ofsted, which you'll be familiar with if you're in the school education system. And that system allows then for public funds to be used for education. So really, really important to stress that. Fully funded, so there's no student loan, there's no self-funding mechanism, there's no build-up of debt. It is funded by the employer that you work for. So there's some three basic principles. I mentioned the apprenticeship levy. What does the apprenticeship levy mean? So this is a relatively new concept. It came into being around about 2016, the launch of the apprenticeship levy, and this is effectively a tax on the employer that you may well be employed in. So if that employer has a payroll of more than 3 million, the government levy a tax on that employer, and that that employer contributes then to a digital account 0.5% of their total payroll. So if for example their payroll is 3 million, they'll contribute 5% of that 3 million into a digital account. It is then ring fenced to be used for apprenticeship training only. And I've said only for the moment. As I said, I caveat at the beginning, we've got a new government. They are talking about widening this ring fenced out to other skill programs, but for the moment it's ring fenced on apprenticeship training only. So the funding for degree apprenticeships and apprenticeships in general is paid for by the employer's payroll. It's ring fenced. It's used for apprenticeship training only. If you are an employer, or if you are in employment and the employer has less than a 3 million payroll, that's quite a lot of companies in the UK. Majority of those might be small, medium enterprises, SMEs as we call them, and the payroll is less than 3 million, then the government will contribute 95% of the cost of that apprenticeship into that account. So the employer will still have to contribute 5%, but the government will pay for 95% of the cost of that apprenticeship training. So there's a mechanism for both types of employee here. There's those that are large enterprises, the multinationals, the national corporations who have large payrolls, large staff bases. They contribute through a tax system. Those that don't have that kind of size and that kind of staff base, will have support from the government to fund apprenticeships in their organisations to 95% of the cost, with the employer topping up the 5%. That's how we stand today. As I did say at the outset, the government are in the midst of changing lots of skills policies, so watch out for things coming down the line in the autumn, and certainly the apprenticeship levy is going to be widened out slightly to include skills. So it's really worth keeping an eye on that policy. But it's been the apprenticeship levy turbocharged the opportunities in the apprenticeship system in 2016 and has continued to do so. It's funded the system better. It's provided more opportunities for younger people and employers alike. So it's been a real turbocharging effect on apprenticeships. So how does a degree apprenticeship fit into the system? Those that are new to this concept or new to a degree apprenticeship, how does it all link in together? So I've kind of sort of put this pyramid together from level 2 to level 6. I'm not going to go into level 7 at the moment because they are under somewhat debate by the government. So we'll just go to level 6 in this example. So a level 2 qualification, you are that is equivalent of a GCSE grade 4 or GCSE grade C in old money, and equivalent to the output at GCSE grade C or grade 4. Often termed as a foundation apprenticeship, although that terminology is going to be slightly tweaked by government shortly, and lots of opportunities at level 2. We see things like business administration, hospitality and catering, retail, customer service. We see things in medical, health and social care, hairdressing. Lots of opportunities at level 2 for people to enter that level of the system where maybe they didn't achieve that during their GCSE time. So certainly a lower entry point, but a great opportunity and some fantastic programs at level 2 which really do kickstart any business and any career in business, depending on whatever the sector is. Really strong programs. We move up slightly, level 3. So this is akin to A levels, and this is akin to GCSEs at higher grades as a starting point. Level 3 have some fantastic apprenticeships. You have lots of manufacturing, engineering, science, lots of stuff around the STEM sector, lots of things around accountancy at level 3, lots of things around retail, hospitality, management. So almost as building up from a operative level at level 2 to a more advanced supervisor, team leader type at level 3. Level 4, so we're into H and C territory here, H and D territory, if you're familiar with those sorts of pathways once upon a time. And these are level 4 called advanced apprenticeships. So the middle run of the pyramid, if you like, as such. Lots of programs here begin to start to specialize in subject matter areas. So you tend to get a lot of the generic content at level 3, wide brush content. At level 4, the apprenticeship standards start to narrow, hence the sort of building up of that pyramid here. And apprenticeships at level 4 often are things around advanced manufacturing, advanced engineering, advanced science applications, advanced technologies around cybersecurity, data analysts. Lots of that sort of content appears in the level 4 standards. So always worth taking a look at level 4, especially if you're exiting A levels, if you're thinking what's the next step, really worth looking at. Don't forget that level 4 is akin to a first year at university. So you've got, in other routes, you would complete your A levels, move on to university. The first year of a university program, a traditional undergrad program at level 4, would be a first year of a degree. So level 4, lots of strong subject matter. Level 5, higher apprenticeships. So lots of content here again become specialists. You have things like operations and manager, data scientist. You have things around advanced manufacturing and engineering, advanced site construction. So really, the level of skill really does become refined at level 5, and again, equivalent of that second year at university. or foundation degree, if people are familiar with the concept of a foundation degree. So level 5s are really also a focus of this current government in terms of driving higher skilled people into the workforce. So level 5, the content around level 5 apprenticeships, higher apprenticeships, really valuable and also quite sought after by employers. And of course, we've got, in this example, top of the pyramid is the level 6 degree apprenticeship. So again, there's around about 150 degree apprenticeships at level 6. Lots of things around nursing, healthcare, science, data, leadership and management, creative and digital. The list of degree apprenticeships is vast compared to where we were around about 10 years ago when these things were starting to be dreamt up by government policy. So there is a massive opportunity for all people to work into a degree apprenticeship at level 6. Just bear with me 1 second. For some reason, my my computer decided to lock me out then. Hopefully, you can still all hear me. So level 6 degree apprenticeships really, again, becoming really sought after by employers. They see a degree apprenticeship at level 6 as a real lifeblood for future talent pipelines, and most multinational companies, national companies, those levy payers that are in the top 10 sort of companies have a degree apprenticeship program because they recognize that they can retain talent and develop talent through a degree apprenticeship. So really quite sought after by potential apprentices, really quite valuable from an employer perspective. And of course, you know, if you're balancing out what do I do post 16, a degree apprenticeship route is usually quite a lucrative way of gaining your degree while gaining the experience of working and learning, as we just described previously. So level 6 tops the pyramid for the moment. We do have some level 7 apprenticeships, and we do have probably a lesser number of those. And I've not included this in this example, but they are master's level, higher degree study. So you've got akin to a MBA, Masters in Business Administration, or Masters in Science. Similar sort, but they are currently under quite a lot of scrutiny from the UK government. So I've not included these in an example because we might see policy shift and change here, but I would certainly always take a look at higher level degree apprenticeships, level 7 degree apprenticeships, because there are some lucrative opportunities there as well. So good things to take a look at, but that's how the pyramid and structure fits in the current English system. So what kind of things could we do? So part of this webinar is try and enlighten sort of you on what can you do in terms of degree apprenticeship pathways. Well, there's lots of strength in digital here. So data science, software development, cybersecurity, digital marketing, healthcare comes into a little bit in terms of data as well, and data science around healthcare. Really strong in terms of employee demand. There's a lot of need for data science, software management in most companies now, particularly around cybersecurity. There's obviously the growing threats to cyber terrorism. So digital and degree apprenticeships are somewhat made for each other because they're higher skilled, higher level in terms of education in their makeup, therefore fit nicely into a degree pathway. So the digital sector is really quite an advocate of degree apprenticeships. Likewise, engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical, and I'll highlight there aerospace engineering. So if you are thinking about going into a STEM subject and opportunities around degree apprenticeship, aerospace engineering is probably the hottest ticket in town in that sector in the moment, because you have a lot of, I'm just thinking not far from us down in Sheffield, you've got two massive multinational employers. You've got Rolls-Royce on one side of the parkway and and Boeing on the other side of the parkway down in Sheffield. Massive aerospace engineering firm. So really quite strong in that sector, degree apprenticeships. Along with automotive engineering, the advent of electric vehicles, the push to net zero is really driving up automotive engineering skills, and therefore having a desire, and people having a desire to develop degree apprenticeships in those sector. Onto healthcare really, and what opportunities there are in healthcare. Nursing particular, the registered nurse degree apprenticeship is a very popular one. Most NHS trusts offer this as a route into healthcare. There's the advanced clinical practitioner at level 7, which can follow on from nursing. There's things around pharmacist and also medical technology, healthcare scientist, as well as an option in healthcare. So there's quite a lot of opportunities. If you're thinking about getting into nursing and you're thinking about doing a nursing degree, a great option is to look at a nursing degree apprenticeship, the registered nurse degree apprenticeship, or the undergraduate level 5 nursing associate. Lots of opportunities in there. Most NHS trusts have that kind of pathway and are actively looking to increase the number of apprentices in that sector. Business and finance. Lots of things in accountancy, lots of degree apprenticeships in accountancy, lots of appetite from organisations, banks, finance management houses, auditors, so the likes of PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, Lloyds Banking Group, HSBC, all have significant apprenticeship programs and all have a real strong pipeline of opportunity through the levels in their organisation. So, for instance, with HSBC, you can start off at a level 2 finance customer advisor, for instance, and work your way up to a level 7 in financial management and operations. So there's been a real building block of talent in the business and finance sector through apprenticeships, and accounting particularly has seen the benefit of degree apprenticeships bolster opportunities to get into that sector, which traditionally you had to study and more often than not self-finance. So accounting, for those that are looking at these kind of pathways, is also really popular. Construction. I suppose construction, people always go straight to things like bricklaying and painting and decorating and plastering and plumbing when you talk about construction apprenticeships, and of course they're absolutely vital for our economy as well. And there's a lot of construction apprenticeships generally, which is a really good thing and a really good opportunity. But one thing that I always say around construction as a sector, it has such a depth and breadth of opportunities for people thinking about apprenticeships, particularly when you start looking at building things like building services engineering, quantity surveying, project management. You also have on-site construction, you've got off-site construction manufacturing. So the construction sector is probably one of the most lucrative sectors to get into in terms of a long-term apprenticeship pathway, from particularly a craft right up to supervisory, site supervision, project management, quantity surveying, building services. The pathways can be quite strong in construction, and the opportunities are usually there for people as well. So, construction as a sector, people always think, oh, it's building sites, it's dirty work, it's outside in the cold. That could not be more from the truth in terms of a sector, and they are hoovering up talent, particularly in projects such as HS2, Transpennine electrification. You've also got big construction projects around nuclear power stations, and they need degree level educated people to support those projects. Employers such as Network Rail, LNER, Transpennine Express all recruit project managers to manage construction projects and infrastructure projects throughout the UK. So it's a really strong sector, construction, but it does get devalued quite a lot in the careers discussion because people jump straight to it's a bricklaying, it's plumbing, it's plastering, it's painting and decorating. It is, but there's so much more to offer people as well as an opportunity. So do take a look at the construction sector. Usually some big multinational employers as well, so usually great support in terms of a career. And then other things you've got in terms of degree apprenticeships, which are always worth looking at. You've got a lawyer apprenticeship, you can train to be a lawyer as an apprentice. You've got education degree apprenticeship, so you can train to be a teacher through an apprenticeship now. You can train to be receive a doctor as a degree in education, And there's also social work as well. So you can be a social worker practitioner, higher advanced social worker practitioner through degree apprenticeships. And I think that's probably a great example of why a degree apprenticeship is a great thing for people considering a future career, because it doesn't just have to start and end with one subject. You can begin your career in project management and then advance your career into digital or engineering or business finance. So the world does become your oyster as you start getting into the system of learning through this pathway. So it's really a really deep and broad playing field in terms of opportunities for young people when they're considering what's next at post-16. So how can you become a degree apprentice? How do you get into a degree apprenticeship program? Well, it's like most jobs. So there's some things on here I'm going to talk about, but I'll just open the slide by saying an apprenticeship is like most jobs. You have to apply to the company that's going to take you on as a degree apprentice. You have to go through a recruitment process. You have to go through the interview. You have to be onboarded because it's an employed position. So you have to go through that process of being part of their company. And sometimes that's challenging. Sometimes that is a barrier to entry before we even start talking about education. Just being recruited and being recruitable is sometimes a barrier. So, like any job and if you're on this call and you are a careers advisor, or you're on this call and you're a potential parent and you're thinking, yeah, degree apprenticeships sound great. This is brilliant. This is funded. This is a degree without cost. The big opposite of the coin is that you have to find somewhere to work and you have to have a job, and that sometimes is challenging for people. Not necessarily, the job's being there in the local area, but also to make sure that you are prepared to apply and go through the process of applying often for many apprenticeship positions without actually gaining success. So that is one of the disadvantages that we'll expand shortly. But what do we need roughly for degree apprenticeships? So GCSEs, most employers who have a degree apprenticeship program like to see GCSEs between 4 and 9, or A star to C in old terminology, and especially a lot of degree apprenticeships already require you to have a GCSE or equivalent in Maths and English. Now, I'll say most because there is a pathway to gain an additional Maths and English qualification, and only this week the government relaxed some of these requirements around this. So if you are 19 plus, you no longer have to conclude Maths and English as an exit requirement of your apprenticeship, where previously you did. If you are 16 to 19 though, you will still have to complete English and Maths alongside your apprenticeship if you do not already hold an English and Maths qualification at level 2 or the GCSE grade 4 to 9 A to C. Really important one. It can be a barrier to achievement for a degree apprenticeship. It can be a stumbling block for a lot of people. So it's really worth thinking about in terms of your own qualifications. Where do I sit? What am I going to leave school with? What might I actually need to get onto one of these programs? So if you're thinking about, I want to do a degree apprenticeships, and you're still in year 11 at the moment, coming up to those exams in the summer, and you're thinking, yes, degree apprenticeship sounds great. My advice is make sure you get your English and Maths finished, and make sure you're aiming for that at least a 4, because they will want to see that as an employer. It's not a complete no if you don't get it, but more often than not, it is an entry requirement. So work experience. So one of the things that employers do want to see, especially if you're new to employment, and is that you've got application. You can apply yourself to the world of work. So prior work experience is beneficial. So if you've been on work experience while you've been at school, or you've done a Saturday job, or you've been working during the summer, volunteering, or you've got experience doing things, let's say the Duke of Edinburgh Award, or you've been undertaking charitable work, those really do weigh in your favour when you're applying to become a degree apprentice with a company, because what employers want to see is that you can apply yourselves to the world of work, and you can be there when you are required to be there, and you can turn up and you can be professional. So work experience, not a massive requirement, but can be really beneficial when you're thinking about applying. So think about opportunities that you might have between now and any application, especially if it's charity work, volunteering, things like you've got DFE or Prince's Trust things. Lots of stuff you can get involved in. Always good things to have on your CV if you are contemplating applying for a degree apprenticeship. And then sort of fastly, this is a little bit of a soft skill approach to an entry requirement. It's not a certificate that you can prove to somebody, but motivation and skills. What employers want to see, especially around degree apprenticeship engagement, is you have motivation and commitment to completing this pathway, because certainly what you will see and feel during an apprenticeship is challenge. So an employer will expect that you are motivated to study, you are motivated to work as well as attend university. You can communicate and you can problem solve. They're sort of real essential skills that employers look out for when they are recruiting a degree apprentice. So thinking about how you're positioning yourself as an applicant, or how you are advising your potential students or your children who may be thinking about a degree apprenticeship, or if you're a year 11 and you're going into this at the end of this year, thinking about how you can demonstrate your motivation, communication, problem solving skills to a potential employer is really key. So think about the examples you might have, think about things you've overcome, think about things you've been involved in while you've been at school. They are all good things to include on applications and CVs. So just have that and be mindful of it. We're rattling through here quite well, so I'll just give a shout out. If you do want to ask any questions, we've got the Q&A only button in the chat box. We've also got the chat. So if there's any questions you'd like to ask me as we move forward to the second half of this, please do so. Drop a question in, we'll come back to it at the end. Hopefully we can get some questions answered. So we've talked about what they are. We've talked about how you get involved in them. What are the benefits for learners? Well, earning while you're learning. It's a phrase that's been bandied about as long as I've been in the apprenticeship sector, for sure, maybe even longer than that. I think it goes back to the old YTS scheme that the government ran in the 80s and the 70s. Earn while you're learning. And this is really powerful, and this is really powerful from a government policy perspective, but it's a really powerful for a learner, a student perspective. Because you will be in employment, you'll have a salary, you'll have the trappings of a salary. You won't pay national insurance on your salary, which is a big thing because you're an apprentice. But you will pay tax. That death and tax is the only two facts in life that we can be assured of. So you will pay tax, but you will be earning. And I think that's a big thing when you're thinking about why should I do a degree apprenticeship? Why should I get involved in this pathway? Is that you will come and study, you will come and get your degree, but you will have earned a salary. So if you can think about the average student debt that a student will exit a undergraduate program with, it will be around £45,000 worth of debt plus living expenses for going to university full time. Counter to that, a degree apprenticeship has no tuition fees attached to it, and you will earn a salary at the same time. So you will probably earn somewhere in the region of £21,000 a year as a basic minimum wage. Times that up by 3 years of study, you're in the realms of 60k, £60,000 in the plus column versus around about 40 to 50k in the minus column in terms of if you are funding your university education through loans. You may have 50 to 60k sitting in the bank waiting to do this, but that's not all people. So student debt reduction is a big thing, and it's a big positive for degree apprenticeships. Again, I counter that with the fact that you have to be in employment. You have to get that employment first, so it's not a golden ticket here. And it is challenging to get on into an employer if you have the specific job role and you may be up against a number of applicants. But the potential to earn a salary while you are studying, versus not working while you're a student, and having a student debt is quite an attractive offer to many. So really, point one and point two on this slide are massive here. Earning while you're learning, gain the value of a salary, and you gain experience, but you reduce your student debt. And point three on this side, what's the sort of third benefit? What's the sort of really important one here is that degree apprentices are really sought after. They're sought after while they're on program, and they're sought after when they graduate. And I'll talk about one apprentice that I met yesterday who came to an event here we had at university. She is now working for Santander as a data analyst. She literally finished her job a university course last October. She got picked up by Santander in November because they saw her on various things, headhunted by Santander, and is now heading up a data analyst team at Santander, and she's 4 or 5 months out of her degree apprenticeship on a really great salary in a great multinational organisation, really good benefits. So it really boosts your career prospect because yes, you're coming to university, yes, you're getting a degree, yes, that's really a powerful thing, but also you'll have had 3 to 4 years of work experience on your CV that a traditional graduate wouldn't have. You've been full time in a job, so the two combined make you a really attractive employee for employers that are looking for talent. So it really does boost your career prospect quite significantly, because you're recognised that you have a degree, but you've also generated and gained all of these practical skills that you can then go away with and apply in the real world. And that's a powerful thing for employers when they are recruiting. So you do become quite an in-demand asset for both a company to retain and a company to recruit. So really, really strong output there for a learner. So if you're an employer and you employ on the call, and you don't do degree apprenticeships, and you're thinking, I want to get into this. This is sounding amazing. We can have great talent pipeline. We can have great, future-proof in our workforce. Well, that's exactly the reason why. I've sort of highlighted some here. Talent pipeline. Those early adopters of apprenticeship standards, those early adopters of degree apprenticeship, recognised that actually we could grow our own. There's always a big debate in employment circles and skill development circles that we don't have enough of the right people. We don't have enough of the right people with the right skills. So banks, financial institutions, early adopters of degree apprenticeships recognise that actually we may be better off growing our own talent here. We may be looking at the talent pool that we have at the base of that pyramid and bringing them up to the peak of the pyramid. So accessing a pool of highly skilled and motivated employers is a real driver for companies that are looking at apprenticeships and degree apprenticeships in particular. It's noted and it's evidenced that a degree apprentice goes back into the workplace, and despite them only having 80% of the working week, they tend to be more productive because they've got to get more done with less time. But also the skills and knowledge and behaviours they're learning while they are in their degree apprenticeship or their apprenticeship in general is been brought back into the employment and widened out within the wider team. So it's really an increase in productivity not only for the apprentice but for the wider team because they're benefiting from the apprentice undertaking that program, that course. It significantly reduces recruitment costs because the concept of grow your own, develop your own, the base of the pyramid up to the top of the pyramid, that concept of funding staff development through the apprenticeship levy is a key driver in terms of recruitment costs and reinvestment in the business. So it's a mechanism by government in terms of tax, but it's also a mechanism by the employer to reinvest and reskill and upskill and retrain. So it's really significant. Along with that, you've got the improved retention piece. So not only does it reduce recruitment costs because you're growing your own, you're developing your own skill base, it also improves retention because if you can offer a degree apprenticeship opportunity to an existing employee, then they are more likely to stay with that company and more likely to stay with that company long term because they get bought into the culture over the course of their apprenticeship. So they're more wedded to that. Notwithstanding the case I just mentioned, that apprentices, degree apprentices in particular, are really valuable and get headhunted quite a lot. So it's always worth caveating that, retention isn't solved by the golden ticket of a degree apprenticeship, but it does add to it. The rest of the retention piece from an employer perspective is vital. So some really strong benefits for employers there. So what does it do for the local area? So if you're on this webinar and you're involved in wider careers advice, if you're involved in wider skill development, if you want to evidence impact of what your schemes are doing, there's two things to look at here. So community empowerment. So degree apprenticeships do act as a catalyst for community empowerment. Now, that's quite a big statement and a big word, but what that means is that degree apprenticeships are normally directed at what the local skill need is. So colleges, universities, training providers are all mandated to be able to address local skill need and look at talent gap and talent shortages within their local area. So our apprenticeships here at York St John particularly look at the things that we are short of in the local economy. So management and leadership and creative and digital are things that we offer because that's what our local economy and community needs. So it does contribute directly to the growth of that local area, which is a really significant thing when you are looking at strategy of a business and impact of a business. What it does though, most degree apprentices, unlike degree undergraduate students, are local to their university which they're studying at. And why that's a specific impact is that they tend to be residents of that local community. They tend to be within 20 miles of that university, 25 to 35 miles within that employment. So they tend to, the impact of upskilling a degree apprentice brings a wider impact on their local community, their local ecosystem, because they are staying in the local area, they're commuting to their workplace, they're commuting to university. They are not sort of moving geographically to attend a degree program, which is often quite destabilizing for talent in a local economy. So programs that meet local skill need and local employer need really do drive localized skill development quite strongly, because the people tend to stay in region and stay in the area that they're getting that skills from, therefore contributing to the wider economy. So a real localized skill enhancement. We're getting to the end. Now these slides are going to be shared, and I'm not going to run these videos right at this moment, but it's worth taking a look at. We've got two great case studies here on our website. So our website, if you just want to type it into Google at some point, is yorksj.ac.uk. You'll find degree apprenticeships through the study option there. Take a look at these two YouTube videos, these two case studies, which really do explain how degree apprenticeships have had an impact for the apprentices and an impact for their employers. Two great examples. We've got Drax Power Station, which is relatively local to York, just down the road from here in Selby, the UK's biggest generator of power. Really good examples and case studies, really great video. We've got the drone flying over the cooling towers, which is quite impressive. And then you've got Aviva, so a national company headquartered down in East Anglia, also got a headquarters up here in York as well as London, and big employer of talent in the city of York and the region, as well as down at our London campus. And that's a significant employer that's really bought into apprenticeships and why they benefit the system. So take a look at both of those cases, because they will give you a lot more. I'm sure these slides are going to be shared with delegates after from Career Map, so please take a look click through onto our website, but the two images there are hyperlinked to the YouTube address, and you'll be able to pick those straight up off our site. So take a look at the two of those, because these are really great videos to take a look at. We're cantering through, but I just want to flag a couple of things. There's something called the Yorkshire and Humber Apprenticeship Ambassador Network. This is our specific one, but there's ambassador networks throughout the country. So if you're not familiar with your local apprenticeship ambassador network, just type it into Google, Apprenticeship Ambassador Network, and it will come up with a localized offer, a localized map. And these are a government-backed scheme which allows you to access loads of resources, but loads of connections around apprenticeships. If you sort of take a look on their website, the Apprenticeship Ambassador Network website, it talks about how you can get on as an apprentice, how you can get on as an employer, how you careers advice for careers advisors, resources to use. It's got on there. It's got information around the IAG, information advice and guidance process for apprentices. And we do lots of engagement through employers, schools, progression routes. So tap into your local Apprenticeship Ambassador Network. Ours is a Yorkshire and Humber one. If you're a Yorkshire and Humber attendee, please click on the Yorkshire and Humber portal if you want to take a look at that. But if you're not, if you're wide in the wider country, take a look at your local Apprenticeship Ambassador Network, because they've got stacks of resources for both parents, apprentices and school staff to help support the message of degree apprenticeships. Cool. So finally, as we wrap up, before I take some Q&A, I'm going to leave this up while I do answer some Q&As. We've got our website, we've got our email on there. If you're an employer that wants to talk about apprenticeships, give us a shout. We'll happily have a chat with you. Our LinkedIn page, in terms of social media, we've got lots of stuff going on there, and the QR code there will take you direct to our website, and you can take a look at those case studies. So I'll just pause there. I'm just going to grab a quick drink of water while I'm sat here, and I'll load up the Q&As to try and take those through in the last sort of 5-10 minutes or so. Okay, lots of questions, which is ace. So we'll go down from top to bottom. So apologies if these are in any other order, but first of all, we've got a listener who says, I saw on TikTok that if you fail your apprenticeship exams, you get kicked out. Can you tell us more about that? So you can fail an apprenticeship. We have something in apprenticeships now called endpoint assessment. That does add some jeopardy of failure into the system, Alyssa. You normally get a chance to resit. Normally, though, resits are capped to 2 or 3 attempts at a resit, and you can fail overall if you don't achieve your endpoint assessment. So yes, you can fail. They probably won't kick you out. They probably will give you a lot of support to make sure you can pass, but there will become a point when, after a number of fails, your employer may say to yourself and the provider that you're doing it with that we can no longer continue this because we're not achieving the right competence. So hopefully you never get there. And actually, apprenticeship pass rates are quite high. So people that do get to undertake their apprenticeship exams usually do quite well because they're prepared for them all the way through the program. But there is jeopardy in it. You can fail. So good question. Meg, my son is in his second and last year at college doing BTEC. Which level of apprenticeship should he apply for? Great question, Meg. BTECs are usually at level 3, so they're equivalent to A levels. So I would be looking at either a level 4 or level 5, or straight into a degree apprenticeship if possible. Depending on what the sector is, depending on what your son's looking to do, I would certainly be looking at something higher than a level 3. So my gut on this would be something either level 5 or a degree apprenticeship, because A levels do give quite a lot of good amount of it, and BTECs particularly because of their vocational nature do offer quite a good grounding for apprentices. So I would certainly say at least level 4, but look at level 5 and look at level 6 apprentices. Archie Davies, can you apply for multiple degree apprenticeships? Yeah, I mean, it's a degree apprenticeship application is much like a job application. You could apply for lots of degree apprenticeships with employers, and you could, if you're successful, take your pick at which one you really would like to do. You can't do more than one degree apprenticeship or any apprenticeship at once. So that's probably one piece of information that's worthwhile. You can do multiple apprenticeships. You can go up the ladder from level 2 up the pyramid, as I showed you. But certainly you can probably apply for more and more employers. So hopefully that answers your question. Question from Joe. I know York St John offers interior design, and there's a consultation about InDesign apprenticeships coming soon. Do you have any updated information on this? And are they available? Yes, so we'll be having a creative and digital design professional, so quite a mouthful, degree apprenticeship launched, and we'll be enrolling for that in the summer, ready for starting in the this time next year. Keep a lookout on our website, Joe, or just drop us an email to apprenticeships@yorksj.uk, and we'll give you some more specific information, or drop on our QR code that we've got a coming soon page for that program on there. Question from Olaf Fury: can somebody from another country apply? Yes is a short answer, but you need to have at least residency in the UK, or be an EU national. Certainly, Brexit changed some of those rules in 2019, but certainly if you have residency, that's fine. If you don't have residency, I think there's some rules around visas, etc., that do allow particularly student visas. So take a look at that specifically with whoever you're applying for. But it's much like any other job application. You usually need to prove your country of residence to an employer. Similar sort of rules for an apprentice. Next question is from Tom Lyons. When do employers start advertising for degree apprenticeships ahead of any interviews? They usually, degree apprenticeships are usually start in the autumn term. So any time now really is when you'll see a lot of employers advertise for roles. But apprenticeships in general can start from any point at any time. So you'll see the apprenticeship adverts go out all the time. Indeed, are pretty good on apprenticeship adverts. You can as a Find My Apprenticeship service from the government, or Rate My Apprenticeship service as well. They've got lots of vacancies. So employers will advertise all the time, but probably from now till June would be the peak period of when employers are putting adverts out, ready for a start in the summer, in the late summer, early autumn. Another question from Archie again. If you are in the last year of A-levels, when should you start applying for degree apprenticeships? I'd certainly start looking from now onwards. Certainly National Apprenticeship Week this week is linked to the sort of peak recruitment time for employers and providers. So certainly start looking from now. UCAS, if you're familiar with the UCAS website, Archie, take a look on there, because they've really ramped up their information around apprenticeship in general, but certainly got a lot of information about degree apprenticeship. So take a look on the UCAS website. Lots of stuff around there. Definitely worth looking at. Question from Maisie. If an apprenticeship company asks for applicants to go to assessment centre or psychometric test, what can we do to prepare? I would definitely start looking at, as I mentioned in those entry requirements, evidencing the things that you've got in your skill set. So things you've achieved, things you've done. Assessment centres usually really quite daunting. So if I could offer you advice, I would try and do some prepared interviews, practice sort of statements. Psychometric testing is a little difficult to answer because it's usually company specific. But again, you're normally looking at roles and problem solving and overcoming challenges in those types of tests. So I would really sort of try and practice on there. And if you type into any web browser, practice psychometric test for an employment, you usually get a good mock one you can probably on there. Another question from me. Do you apply for an apprenticeship through UCAS, by university or companies? The latter. Via companies is usually the way through. Some universities will advertise vacancies on behalf of their companies, as well will UCAS, but it will usually link back through to the company who's recruiting for that apprentice. So always look at company websites. They're usually a really great source to start with. Again, Find My Apprenticeship on the government.gov website, Rate My Apprenticeship. Indeed, have also got lots of stuff on there. So there's quite a few companies. Treat it like any other job that you'd search for any other job, but apprenticeship will always appear if people are recruiting for an apprentice. So make sure you include apprentice in any kind of search. So you could say retail manager apprenticeship. That'd be my search if I'm putting it into a job browser. Or a job vacancy browser. Question from Odell. When is the earliest time you can apply for a degree apprenticeship? My son is doing his GCSEs this year, and he'll go for his A-levels after that. Much like any other job, any other job vacancy, it'd be my advice. So if you've got your eye on a particular degree apprenticeship, with a particular university, I would reach out to that university for some more information. They usually have information about their courses that is for apprentices, but I would certainly make sure that you are looking at potential companies that you may want to go and work for. So if it's in the finance sector, looking at HSB, Barclays, Lloyds Banking Group, all have got lots of information on their websites about their apprenticeship pathways and their apprenticeship offers. So depending on the sector, depending on what is your son wanting to look at, certainly look at the specific type of companies that are in that sector. Healthcare, the NHS have got a really good apprenticeship page. Things like manufacturing, so Nestle are not far from us here in York. They've got a really great apprenticeship page. So most companies now, if you look under their careers pages, or early careers pages, they will list information about their apprenticeship. So take a look at that. Take a look at how you can get into. Some offer and do run sort of pre-entry programs. So do take a look at what's specific, but engage with, if you've seen a particular degree apprenticeship that you would like to engage with, talk to the university. They're usually really good at helping. Question from Sumney. Which level of apprenticeship should career changes apply to? It's a little bit chicken and egg, this one, Sumney. It depending on what you want to do. I mean, I would always try and advocate going up the levels, but that's not a strict rule of thumb that you cannot go down a level. I would certainly be thinking about challenging yourself to go up. Often you will see potential entry requirements become more difficult if you're looking at a lower level than you've currently studied at. But I would certainly look at going up the levels and trying to stretch you, especially if you're applying for something new. But certainly take a look at, depending on what the subject matter is, because you might want to move sideways into doing something at a similar level to what you've already done. Hope that helps. Last question we'll take is from Jan. Do you need specific prior experience to get a degree apprenticeship? I sort of outlined a few on that slide. English and maths are really important in terms of a qualification, not critically important, but are important to have. Certainly prior experience in terms of being articulated around motivation, skills, challenges, that's a good thing to do. I mean, job experience and prior work experience is really difficult if you're in year 11 and never been in work. So I would certainly look at things you can be involved in around school, so volunteering. They all weigh in on the positive column when an employee is looking at you to employ you as an apprentice. So the more experience and demonstration of skill you can provide to a prospective employer is really beneficial to your chances of becoming an apprentice. Have a think about that. Grab the QR code if you've not done already. That'll link to our website. And thank you very much, everybody, for listening to us. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you this morning. I hope you have a pleasant day and an enjoyable National Apprenticeship Week, and use the links, connect with us if you want more information on York St John and our apprenticeship offer. Thank you very much to Career Mag as well for hosting us. It's been a pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Couldn't have said it better myself. Excuse me. I just want to extend that gratitude to York St John University for coming and doing such a great job. Thank you to the audience, obviously, for asking such great questions and being a vital part of this webinar. I suppose all that's left to do is say thank you to everybody again, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. So, thank you very much.
Good day, everybody. Thank you.